guys, how you doing? Hope you're all well. As always, miss seeing you guys. If this was a normal summer, we would be at Dreaming the Impossible right now. I would probably be looking worse than this. I'd have probably had about 8 hours sleep over the past 3 days. But I'll be hanging out with you guys, and it's my first time in, it's going to be around 16, 17 years that I haven't been, usually at Soul Survivor, of course this year. DTI, so I'm missing that, but I'm not missing the lack of sleep, but obviously I'm missing you guys, and I could quite easily whinge and moan about not seeing you guys, haven't done holiday club this year, haven't seen friends. It's looking likely, actually, we've got a holiday booked to go to Australia next Easter, and where we're going in Australia, they've totally locked down. It's looking pretty likely that's not going to happen, and this whole period of lockdown, I've just been aware that I've been moaning a lot and complaining a lot. And I think in reality, a lot of my life I've spent moaning and complaining and just being negative about things. And that's got me thinking about actually what does the Bible say about this. So I'm going to be doing, starting today, over the next 4 weeks, a 4-week series about what does the Bible say about moaning and complaining and grumbling, and looking at different aspects of that. So today I'm going to just launch in with how does it affect us if we just have a spirit or a personality that just complains and moans. And I want to begin by saying that this isn't pointed at anyone apart from me. It's pointed directly back at me, and I don't know if you've heard people do the whole pointing thing. You have one finger going out but 3 pointing back, and this complaining one I know is something I really struggle with. And this past 5 months of COVID, it's been great to moan. There's been lots to moan about. Haven't been able to go out, haven't been able to see friends, holidays being cancelled, holiday clubs at church being cancelled, Soul Survivor being cancelled, as I've just mentioned, or Dreaming the Impossible, as we'll be doing. Haven't seen family. I know that people's mental health has really struggled. People have struggled with their mental health. We've got family members who are really, really struggling and find it really, really tough. And it's really, really easy to just complain about it a lot of the time. And it got me thinking about people who I know. And there's a person who I know who has complained, and in hindsight, looking back on that and knowing that person and thinking about them, actually they complain a lot, and they're not a Christian, but it seems that everything they say or everything they do, they find fault in. And I started to notice this a few years back with them, and it was like, oh, we did something that was really fun and enjoyable, but still they looked for the negatives. They look for something to whinge about for it. So the drive took too long, or the weather's not hot enough, or the weather is too hot, or the food that they brought isn't the best food they could have had. They should have done something different. And they sort of find fault in everything that they do. And then getting to know that person, regularly we'd chat about other people that we knew, and actually they'd find the negatives in that person. And pick up and pick at that person's things about them that were not positive attributes. And it sort of got me in the end. I found myself sometimes joining in. And I'm going to talk about that next week, as we talk about how our complaining attitude and how that sort of dissipates and goes out to others, and maybe how others look at us. But this person just, it seemed like it was a bit of a snowball. They would begin a little complaining, but that would just get bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, the image of like a tiny snowball that you roll down a hill, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The more they complained, the more they complained, and the more they complained, the more they complained, until actually, I think that person probably now everything is a complaint. They moan and complain about everything, and just from starting doing that, as it being an occasional thing, it now seems to have become a whole thing about them. And I've spoken with them about it, and they disagree, and they probably complained about me, and they probably do complain about me. But it just seems like if we start complaining, it's really easy to complain a bit more and complain a bit more until in the end, all we're doing is complaining. And then it was like, well, okay, what's the Bible saying about this? And I'm going to just jump in straight into Philippians chapter 2, verse 14. Let me find it in my Bible. It says, do everything without complaining or arguing. Paul is telling the church in Philippi, do everything without complaining. Don't complain about it. Just get on and do it. And I was like, well, that's all right. And then also in 1 Corinthians 10, chapter 10, Paul's talking to the church in Corinth about the people of Israel and their time that they were freed from Egypt, and they were out in the desert, wandering the desert. And 1 Corinthians 10:10, the section is warnings from Israel's history, and it says, "Do not grumble, as some of them did, and were killed by the destroying angel." Paul makes it really clear: don't grumble, don't whinge about stuff, don't complain, just get on with it. And whilst I was thinking about this, there was another lady who sprung to my mind. And when I first became a Christian down in Eastbourne, and this lady's sadly passed away, but she was the most amazing woman. And she just didn't complain about things. And again, it's only in hindsight that I look back and go, yeah, she found the good in things. She found the good in people. Like when I first became a Christian, there was lots of stuff people could complain about me. I wasn't. A lot of you know my past. I wasn't brilliant, and I wasn't a great Christian to begin with, and I struggled, and it would have been really, really easy for people to complain about me and point out my faults. But this lady didn't. She just totally loved me, and she found the good in me, and she found the good in everyone, and she didn't complain. She just totally trusted things to God, and when things didn't go right, she was just like, well, okay, it didn't go the way we wanted it to, but she then looked for the positives, and the positives might be a tiny, tiny little thing, but she would find those good things, and she would go, well, maybe you've learned from this experience. That's a positive thing. And she just didn't complain, and people loved her, and people flocked to her, and people wanted to spend time with her, and she used to do amazing parties in their garden, and it would be like a general invite, but loads of people would turn up, because actually just being in that lady's presence and being with her was positive. She was positive about stuff. She didn't complain. And I find that if I spend time with people who are complaining, actually it becomes quite wearing. It becomes quite tiring. It just is like, oh, can we stop going on about things? Can we stop whinging about things? Can we just be a bit positive and a bit happy about things? And I know for myself, I find it really hard to complain. I find it really hard to complain. No, I don't. I find it really easy to complain. And I find it easy to find the wrong and the fault. And it's sort of a mind click, and I have to go, okay, God, help me with this. Being positive about things does not come easy to me. And I have to really, really try. And sometimes Bex, my wife, has to go, come on, you're whinging about this. Look for the positives in it. Stop complaining. And I'm really, really grateful that she says that to me, because I often need to hear that. So this week, well, the rest of your lives ideally, but this week, just be conscious of when you're saying things as a complaint, but also when you think things, because often I think negative things about people and situations and what have you, and that doesn't help either. I want you to just try and be on your guard for those times you might want to complain about someone or a situation or stuff that's going on. And actually, can you find the positives in there? Can you flip it on its head and find the goodness and the positives in it? And we know that asking God for that help, He will help us. And we know that goodness is one of the fruits of the Spirit. And the Holy Spirit wants us to have goodness and to think positive things and say positive things and not whinge and complain. So maybe hang out with God and spend some time in prayer with Him and ask Him to sort of point out to you when you're being negative and when you're complaining. because actually it's negative for us. We might find negative things, but in the end we start just ourselves complaining and finding the negatives in things. It becomes like a habit. It's a bad habit to get into. So yeah, do that. Pray about it, ask God to point it out to you and make it clear to you when you are about to complain. And then consciously make sure that you don't. And then also consciously try to think of the positives in that person and what are the good things about that person or about that situation. Anyhow, I'm going on a little bit. I want to really advertise something to you. It's called Quiet Time. It's an app. It's available in the App Store. Just yesterday, Mike Pilavachi from Soul Survivor did a quick video on his Facebook about it. And I was like, oh, okay, what's it like? And it's rare that he advertises stuff. And I know that if he does advertise stuff, it's usually pretty good. So I jumped on the App Store. It's an app called Quiet Time. It's blue with like a white Q with what looks like a cross in the Q. I'd really encourage you guys to download it. It's totally free. You can register with your email, with an email address and a password. I've done that. They haven't spammed me with anything yet. It's been, I don't know, 18 hours. They may start spamming, but I doubt it. Mike's part of it, is involved with it. Really, really good. If you struggle to have time with God, download it. Every day there are like 4 sections. You can ideally do all 4. It gives you a really small Bible reading that you can read through or you can listen. Today is only 10 verses, but you can just sit and read through it. It takes a minute, and then there's an opportunity just to reflect on that. And Mike Pilavachi sort of talks about it, or someone else talks about that passage and what we can get from it. And there's an option to pray, and there's an option just to meditate. And it literally, guys, it's 10 minutes. And you don't need to do all of it. You can do just the reading that will take you a minute. I'd really encourage you to download it. Get on the App Store or Google Android Store or whatever and download it. Shove it on that front homepage of your phone. Don't shove it right at the back of your phone, 13 screens across. Shove it at the front. So every morning when you turn your phone on to see what messages you've got, check out Insta and whatever else. Actually, there's this big blue square in the corner that goes Quiet Time, and go, do you know what? I can make time for Instagram. I can make time to do my TikTok videos. Make some time to hang out with God. And this app, I've only used it twice. I think it's brilliant. I think it's sort of game changing, really. So I'm really encouraging you guys to download that. It's called Quiet Time. Download it. Let me know what you think about it. I'll be back next week to chat a little bit more about complaining and complaining with others and what that does. Let me know what you think of the Quiet Time app. I'd love to hear that. And if you guys are part of Grid, come back tomorrow. We're going to be throwing up Grid videos every week. We are currently working through, and I'm looking at my desk, and there's the book. My desk's now the living room. We're working still through Naturally Supernatural. So get hold of this book. Again, Mike Pilavachi, I mentioned him a load. Really amazing book, this, loving it. We've been doing it with Grid and then stopped due to COVID. We're picking back up, we're carrying on with it. So grab a copy of this book. If you can't get a copy, let me know. I'll get you a copy. And join me tomorrow for as we read through this and study this together. So guys, have a really good week. See you guys soon. Keep well and enjoy the summer weather. Bye.